Hello Year 5 and 6 and welcome to Thursday's lesson. We've only got 2 more days until the end of term, but we've got 1 more day to finish our writing. So what we want you to do is get straight into it. Go back to your writing that you did yesterday, read through the opening, just make sure, have you got everything that you wanted to include? Is it looking like that last sentence is going to hook the reader into reading more? How are we now going to link to our next paragraph and our next part of the story? So maybe go back to your plan, look at your adverbials for cohesion, maybe look at what vocabulary you might want to use. Maybe you're going to use one of the words from the actual Running Wild book, which we did on Monday, or maybe you're going to look at specific spellings such as Year 5, 6 words or our common exception words from Year 1 all the way through to Year 4. So today, same thing as we did yesterday. We're using our Year 5, 6 grammar and we're using our Year 5, 6 spellings. Our award criteria, remember we're using our ed, ly, ing sentence starters, and we can use these within the paragraphs or at the beginning as a fronted adverbial to hook onto our grammar targets. We want to be leaving the reader wanting more, and we want to use our Year 5, 6 grammar targets, similes, metaphors that we planned for on Monday, fronted adverbials, relative clauses, which we should have planned for within our pronouns and our relative pronouns, and some direct speech. If you have already included direct speech, then you've come to that. Maybe you don't need direct speech for the rest of your story. But remember, if a character is speaking, we need to make sure we punctuate it correctly. So inverted commas, capital letter, punctuation at the end, then inverted commas. So let's move on today. And what we're going to do today is looking at the end of my story. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, if we're typing up this story, we know it's not going to take as much stamina as if I'm writing it by hand. So if we're writing by hand, take some time to just stretch your fingers, complete some exercises, scrunch your hands up, push your fingers into your hands, get up, walk around, have some active minutes, maybe go into some super mover activities and just get the endorphins moving around our body again. So when we're looking at the ending of our story and the resolution of our problems today, I want you to think that Miss Fletcher, that's obviously me, I have had a lot of time to practice my writing. I'm now 34 years old, so we'd hope that I can come up with some good ideas to show you what a good one looks like. But we are well aware that we have some incredible authors within Year 5 and 6. So remember to share your ideas on our class notebook, to talk to your friends by @ing them in the comments and the discussion posts, or if you need to ask the teacher for help, then use the @ button again. And remember, we do that by going through and we have our posts, we can have our new conversation, and we press @. We'll come up with the names of your teachers. You just need to put their last name in. If you want @ a friend, I'll use Hadley as an example. Just type his name, press on this button, and it will come up and I can talk to him on my discussion post for my ideas. So here is the ending of my story. Immediately I ran. Short sentence there, adding impact. And if we think about how I left off my story, if we go back through here, I finished with crack, the cage snapped like a stick. So my next paragraph goes straight into immediately I ran. I grasped the baby orangutan and sprinted away. Bang, clack, clack, clack. What do you think there? What type of word is this? We have a special word for it. It begins with an O. It's an onomatopoeia, where we use sound within our story. What I want you to think of when we're writing this by hand is that we are not writing a Tom Gates novel. We are using Michael Morpurgo as our writer. And Michael Morpurgo does not draw outlines around his words. He doesn't use big capital letters and pictures. So if we're writing it, remember that we just want to be keeping it nice and simple and we're not drawing outlines around our words. But we can use capital letters for showing the emphasis of the noise and the sound. Bang, clack, clack, clack. The gunfire whistled through the air. I buried my head down and powered on. And as we can see here now, I've used one of my Year 5, 6 spelling words, and I've chosen a specific moment in the story to use it where it's going to be the most important. The environment, which was once my foe, now was my friend. And within this sentence here, I've got a relative pronoun, which, and I've even used a synonym for enemy, foe, and an antonym Friend, meaning the opposite of enemy. A kind-hearted jungle leading me away from the terror of the town. Quickly and petrified of the consequences. And again, I've combined now. So at this point, I'm now looking at EDLYING, and I'm going towards the spectrum of year 6 greater depth writing. So if we're in year 5, you are doing above and beyond if you're managing to do this. But year 6, if you want to really challenge yourself and you want to put that greater depth area of our writing, what we would like you to do is choose 2 and mix and match them at the start of your sentence. So I've got an LY and ED sentence starters. Quickly and petrified of the consequences, I threw the orangutans into the trees. I sprang up and pushed myself up the trunk, all my jungle skills being used. Silence. And as we can see here, I'm now starting my next paragraph. And I haven't used an adverbial to link this one. I've used a character. Mr. Anthony stepped out of the Jeep, his snakeskin shoes gleaming, his eyes looking up. Where are you, boy? We'll get you, Pommy. And at this point, as we can see here, I've used my knowledge of the text. So I've gone back and I've thought, what words did we use last week within my character description? And what did the Mr. Anthony talk like? Well, we know he swore, we know he's quite a mean and he's a despicable human being. And he uses the word pommy to describe Will being another derogatory word for somebody who is from the United Kingdom, specifically England. The sun went down and the crescent moon shone down gloomily. So instead of me saying it was nighttime, I've used my words to show how it has changed time. Still, they did not move. It was a standoff. Who would break first? And again, in context, I've used that word that was used. We know we wouldn't use this in school, but I've used it because this is what Mr. Anthony does, because he's a despicable human being and he uses this word to emphasize how mean and what he thinks of people that are lower than him. Come on, you bastards, you've lost him and our money load. You'll pay for this, you maggots. The engine purred. The sound of the jungle awoke. How was I going to survive? Where was Una? Isolated and alone, I closed my bloodshot eyes. And I want you to think that's the end of my story. Have I left you wanting more? At this point, I'm going to read through my story all over again. And I'm just going to check it makes sense. And have I added everything that I want to add? If we look here, I might even think to myself, maybe I've written too much. And I might even start to go over my editing already. I've decided to end my story with some questions, some rhetorical questions. So it leaves the reader at a point where they can think themselves and start to answer those questions and to kind of feel how they would be if they will. And I've used at the end, instead of just saying I was tired, I've shown the reader by saying bloodshot eyes. So if you imagine if you've been crying a lot, or if you've been trying to stay awake for long to watch a film or to try and stay past your bedtime, sometimes your eyes get bloodshot. So your eyes will get really wide with little hints of blood, little red lines in your eyes. And that is how I've decided to end my story. Now, year 5 and 6, we are so excited to see what you are going to do. So if you share your work, share it with an adult in the house, share it with a sibling, maybe you're going to read it. If you've only got younger siblings, even if they're from year 1 or year 2, why don't you read it to them and look at their facial expressions? Does it look like you've engaged and captured them? Have they been listening the whole time? If they decided to zoom in and out of the story, maybe go back to that point, just see, have you gone on for too long? Could you decide coming up to tomorrow, can you edit it specifically? We're going to have our editing session tomorrow, and then we're going to have our reading in the afternoon. So we're going to finish our term with a big celebration of our writing. So from the afternoon, from after lunch in school, when me and Miss Edwards will be teaching, so from 1 o'clock through to 3:30. Sorry, not 3:30, that's when the teachers finish year 5, 6. You can get off for half term at 3 o'clock. But from 1 through to 3 o'clock, we're going to schedule Teams calls where all of the adults are going to be listening. We're inviting Mr. Dallinger, we're inviting Mr. Williams, and we're inviting Mrs. Pallett to join. So if they're not busy planning everything for next term and completing everything to keep us all safe in school, they're going to join in and listen. Remember, Every single person's writing is a celebration, and we're so proud of all of the effort that you've completed this term. So me, Miss Bruce and Miss Edwards are already planning for a whole class treat when we finally get to go back together in school. So if you're not one of the 3 individual winners, there will be some sort of treat when we finally get back to school. We're just not quite sure yet what it's going to be. Have a lovely day, and we were really excited to listen to the stories that you've created tomorrow. Turn in your work, and again, if you've done this on computer, make sure that you've saved a copy just in case it disappears and you can't get it back. At this point, you'll be able to read it tomorrow. Miss Bruce and Mrs. Kirby will then offer you some feedback, so when you come to edit your work, you've got a place to start. We're so excited, and we hope you are too, to see who's going to win our Lockdown Writing Award, Year 5-6. Bye everybody, and have a great day.